Hey everyone, Anthony here with a review of Philomena, which I saw at the CineStar movie theaters at Potsdamer Platz. The film was directed by Stephen Frears. It was produced by Steve Coogan and Jeff Pope, and it stars the great Dame Judi Dench and Steve Coogan. Now, this film was based on some true life events, and it tells the story of one Philomena Lee, who is an eccentric old woman who is searching for her long lost son after he disappeared for 50 years. Basically, he was adopted by a family. And helping her is a journalist who wants to become a Russian history author by the name of Martin Sixsmith. Together, these two embark on a journey of self-discovery and learning from their pasts. Now, story-wise, I felt that this was very engaging and very honest. It didn't need a lot of explosions or sex scenes or crude jokes, no. This was definitely honest. And since this was based on a true life story, this film definitely treated it with respect and with a lot of honesty. Like I said, this film is very honest in how it tells its story. And it's also character driven because you do see how the two main characters really grow and develop, and you sympathize with both of them. And there are a lot of likable traits to, well, both of these characters, but I'll definitely get to characters later. So overall, the story of Philomena's and Martin's journey was very engaging and very thrilling. And like I said, very honest. And it's no wonder why this film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, and it won a lot of awards at BAFTA as well. So even though it didn't really win those awards, it's still nominated, and it really shows that it has a lot of strength in its story. It has a lot of substance. It's not always about style, but it's about substance, of how you care for the characters, how it is able to keep you on the edge of your seat, and how you feel for them. So it's very engaging and very honest. And like I said, it's no reason why this film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards and has won a lot of awards at BAFTA. And the cinematography was masterfully done. Every background, every shot was crisp and clean. From the characters' reactions to the landscapes to everything else in between, everything was crisp and clean from start to finish. What's also noticeable is that this has also been filmed in both England and in Washington. Now, this isn't really anything new, but it really shows just how dedicated the people behind Philomena were at telling such a magnificent story through the eyes of very great performers and through all of the great locations. And like I said, both story and cinematography were masterfully done, especially on the cinematography side. Everything was well shot. There were no moments where I felt awkward or felt that this moment was uncalled for. I felt everything was masterful. And the characters were great, especially the main characters, Philomena and Martin. Now, Philomena, when you first see her, you think that she's some crazy old woman, but when you get to know her, you discover that she's went through a lot of pain, especially as a child. She had sex at a very young age, like 14, and she was also working under the nuns at a very young age as well. And not to mention, she gave birth at a young age. Now, that's quite shocking. And another thing I like to mention is that this story also involves a lot of hints of religion and homosexuality. Religion because of Philomena's life with the nuns, and homosexuality because, well, I don't want to really spoil it, but it's basically of what happens to Philomena's son. But basically, yeah, Philomena spent her childhood with the nuns, and she was basically taught how to clean, sang in choirs, and when the time came when she was a teenager and had her first kiss, she ended up pregnant. And you really do see why she acts like that even until her own old age. Why she acts the way she is, as in eccentric and kind of cuckoo sometimes. But you really do see why she behaves like that, especially towards some other people. But still, she's a very likable character, and we really feel for her. Especially the moment when she finds out that her son was dead, and you could really see just how emotional of a moment this is for her. And even when she's in America, you could really see the joy that she has in her face of going to a lot of great places like the Lincoln Memorial and how excited she is in seeing a lot of sights. But you can also see the pain that she goes through about wanting to spend more time with Anthony. And you can also see in the flashbacks that, well, Anthony was taken by some family. So even then, Philomena is a strong person, and even though the past does bother her, she kind of cloaks it in, oh, this was basically my doing, I have to pay the price. Sure, she knows that she does have to pay the price, but at times she is full of guilt. And you could really see how this guilt can get the best of her even until her old age. But still, she's a very engaging character, and she's also very multi-layered as well. A similar feeling that I have with Martin Sixsmith. Now, with Martin, he starts off as snarky, sly, and very dry humored. He states that he wants to be a history of, oh, excuse me, an author of Russian history. So basically, he's interested in that. But when he's a journalist, he basically gets into a lot of controversial topics and a lot of scandalous stories just for the sake of getting a story. But when Philomena and Martin are together, he's basically found more than just a scoop. He's found someone that he can relate to, that he can help, that he can be a friend to. Heck, there was even one scene in the movie in which when both Philomena and Martin were in a hotel and Martin was concerned of what happened to Philomena, he basically states to the concierge that Philomena was his mother, and he wants to see how Philomena was doing because, like he said, the only way that the concierge can at least let Martin in is that he's related to her. So he basically makes up the fact that he's Philomena's son, even though he's not. Which I thought was very charming because, and also funny because you do see a lot of chemistry with Philomena and Martin. You really do feel that they're like mother and son. You really do feel that because I guess when you think about it, Martin is almost like the son that Philomena would have wanted to see. And every time we see Philomena think of her son, of, oh, how he could have wanted this, and if he would have grown up in Ireland, he could have ended up working at some factory. But look where he is. he ends up in the White House working for the president. So you really do see a lot of great chemistry with Philomena and Philomena and Martin. So there were a lot of great moments with both of these wonderful characters. And Sister Hildegard, even though she doesn't really have a lot to do, you may think that she might be unlikable. But she kind of has her codes as a nun. And even though people don't like it, she still sticks to them. So she may not have a lot to do in the movie, but it kind of shows that there are some people in terms of religion that kind of stick to their codes no matter how bad the situation may be. So I still felt that every character in the movie were just great. There was nobody that was unnecessary or unlikable or took up too much space. But still, the true stars for me were definitely Philomena and Martin. And going into the acting, Dame Judi Dench gave such a heartfelt performance. She was able to give all of the nuances that make Philomena such a lovable character. And you could really see the way that she smiles, the way that she laughs, and even the moments when she is sad and depressed and crying. You could really see the joy in her eyes when she's in Washington. And let this be a lesson to all of you aspiring actors out there. You should really take a tip from the magnificent Dame Judi Dench. It's a lesson in longevity, and she definitely has it. She still has that amazing acting talent, and she still has an amazing presence on screen. And she can still use language in such an effective way. After many years of acting and acting and acting and performing in general, she still has it. And it just really shows that a veteran like Dame Judi Dench is basically someone worth rooting for. And even though she didn't win the Academy Awards, which actually went to Cate Blanchett, she was still amazing in the title character of Philomena. She was not only capable of making Philomena quite eccentric, but also very heartfelt as a character, and you'd be hard pressed to find someone as masterful and as fantastic as the great Dame Judi Dench. Now, with Steve Coogan's case, I first encountered him in the 2004 Around the World in 80 Days with Jackie Chan. I definitely thought he was great in that film. He was funny as Phineas, and he was a lot of fun to see in that role. Here, he gives that nice sense of dry humor, and he is sarcastic in that role, and he can be funny at times. And I definitely felt that he was great in portraying all of the nuances and all of those ironies that make Martin such a likable character and also quite funny. And he was definitely a lot of fun to see on screen, but he was also a pretty serious actor as well, especially in the moments where things between him and Judi Dench as Philomena were about to get serious. And you could really see the desperation in his eyes, especially when he not only wants to get a story, but he actually does want to know Philomena as a person, especially in the scene with the nuns. You really do see that type of fire in his eyes, yet at times he keeps that dry sense of humor intact. So I definitely felt that Steve Coogan's best asset is his dry sense of humor that has made him so fantastic in the role of Martin. And playing the role of young Philomena is a is an actress in her 20s by the name of Sophie Kennedy Clark. Yes, Sophie Kennedy Clark was absolutely fantastic as the young Philomena. You could really see that she's able to work all of those hard emotions, all of those crying scenes, and those shouting scenes, and those scenes where at times she doesn't always say a lot. And even though she doesn't have a lot to do on film, you could really see that she has such a magnificent screen presence, and she definitely played Philomena's plight very well. In fact, every actor and actress in this movie did very well, especially Barbara Jefford as Sister Hildegard, who I felt that even though she didn't have a lot to do, I definitely felt that she does have a presence in the film that says, "Don't you mess with me, Sonny." I definitely really liked seeing her on screen. But I have to say, it was definitely Judi Dench and Steve Coogan that were the stars of the movie, and they basically stood out from this movie, and they gave such an emotional performance, and their chemistry was so spot on. You almost think that they'd be like mother and son, even though they're technically not. And the music, it does use a lot of um, glockenspiel and strings, piano. It's quite hushed in a sense, but it's very beautiful, heightening the sense that Philomena is a drama that we as people can take seriously. And as I understand, like I said, there was some controversy involving religion and how the nuns handled the younger women in terms of them giving birth to their children and letting them be adopted, and homosexuality. There are a lot of controversial moments, so this film isn't really for children. And basically, if children are going to watch this, um, they have to have their parents watch the film with them. But still, this film was definitely very worthwhile watching. And overall, this film was great. It had a masterfully told story. The scenes were all well shot. The characters were likable, especially Philomena and Martin, and the acting was solidly superb. I give this film a 4.5 out of 5. Sure, there were some questions that needed to be answered, but I still felt that this film was great in its own right, and I could really see why this film was nominated for 4 Oscars and has won a lot of awards at BAFTA. Anyways, what did you think of the film? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you thought it was okay? Well, let me know what your opinions are as well. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in to my next review, which is going to be on Thursday. I'll be reviewing Grand Budapest Hotel, and just by watching the trailers, I could really tell that this is going to be a very fun and great movie. Not to mention the cast of great veteran actors from Harvey Keitel to Ralph Fiennes to F. Murray Abraham and to Tilda Swinton. So basically, this movie is one thing that I'm very excited for, and I really hope that it'll be fantastic. Until then, this is Antoni signing off and wishing you all a good night.